Hello, and welcome back to Coworking with Iris, where we talk about coworking and community. This is episode 28, and I will be talking today with a coworking pioneer. Sam Rosen has been in the industry for about as long as I have, I think, close to 9 years. And I've known Sam for maybe 4 or 5 years now. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been.
Who's counting?
But Sam is very, very knowledgeable from both an operator side as well as having developed 2 software platforms, knowledgeable about the co-working industry. And I'm really excited today to talk with him and you about his newest endeavor, his newest platform, which is connecting members to all of the co-working spaces in their locale. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Sam now. Welcome, Sam.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you, Iris.
Nice to see you as well. Thanks so much for being here today. So Sam, let's start out with you telling us what's your co-working story.
Oh man, well, I'll try to give the abridged version, and I'm sure you've heard it. But so I have run a digital agency called One Design Company for about 12 years. And in the process of building a business and running a business, as we started to grow and had a few more employees, I would say around 5, I was traveling a lot. I had a lady friend in Brooklyn, and I would schlep to Brooklyn every 3 weeks or so. And so I was going there a lot, and my business was growing, and because of the beautiful universe we live in, I could pretty much do my work from my laptop and my phone. And so she would go to work or go to school, and I would sit in her apartment and try to be productive. And I remember very clearly one day having a conference call with like a bigger client and kept dropping. She was a lovely lady, but she had a very messy apartment with very bad cell reception and crappy internet. So I remember like we had a good client, a big client, and I was supposed to lead this call, and I kept dropping the call. And afterwards, one of the guys I work with was like, dude, you gotta get this together. It's not professional. And I was like, okay. So I started going across the street to this little cafe that happened to be called the Rabbit Hole. And I would sit there all day, and I'd get like maybe 1 bagel, 2 coffees, and I'd work there all day. And I could tell over time that they didn't like me. Not that they didn't like me, but they did not want me there. And I could tell because the internet would go out. They would say, okay, now we have a policy where you can't use computer from like 11 to 2. Then the outlet stopped working, and I was like, okay, I got the message. And the cell phone reception and internet wasn't much better. And this was like almost 9 years ago. So I was with a colleague of mine, Noah, and he said, he was in town with me. He said, have you ever heard of coworking? I hadn't. I had no idea what that was. He showed me like a wiki with a bunch of spaces. I still didn't quite understand what it was, but it sounded like a solution to my problem. And I ended up at a co-working space in downtown South Williamsburg called, I thought this name was so silly, but in hindsight, it's a great name because it made a big difference in my life. It was called The Change You Want to See, which was later called Brooklyn Co-working. But it was like an art studio. I come from an arty family. It was, it was cool. And I remember walking the front door, walking in, there was like a long table with like 12 people sitting around it. And the guy was like, are you here to co-work? And I was like, yes, I think so. And, aside from, he said, we have 2 rules, be respectful, don't download any porn. And I was like, yeah, I can abide by all these rules. And by the end of the day, aside from finally having a great place to work, the thing that really struck me and I thought was the coolest was I met all these cool people that were like me in a city that I'm not from and didn't have those roots except for my lady friend at the time. So by the end of the day, the guy next to me worked for Current TV, and he gave me a list he said there was a music festival in town called CMJ, and he gave me a list of all the shows I should go to and made an asterisk next to the ones that were, he could help me get on the list. And I was like, co-working is awesome. So that was sort of my entry into it. And when I looked and saw, hey, are there any spaces like this in Chicago? There weren't any. There were people who had expressed interest in opening a co-working space, but no one had actually done it. I was in the right place at the right time. I happened to have my office was next to my apartment, and it was time for me to move. So I made my apartment a co-working space and got a bunch of desks from IKEA. And I was lucky to be the first folks in Chicago to do this. So there was kind of a pent-up group of people who were cool, already heard of this, and were already interested. And so we built the Coop, and the Coop was the first space that called itself a co-working space in Chicago. We grew it a bunch, many times over. We moved it to a fancier location downtown, and then after many conversations with you, Next Space ended up buying that space. So we're the Chicago Next Space location. And so me being a dude who builds software for a living and helps on the design and technology front, as soon as I immersed myself in co-working, I became really interested in how can we solve some of the problems and future problems of this business through software. So the first thing we built was a directory because I found the co-working space through a wiki and a Google group, which wasn't a great tool or resource for this. So we built a directory called Desktime for all these co-working spaces, and it's still around. And I think about 4,000 spaces on it from all over the world.
Nice.
And then I started building software to manage co-working spaces, which was a long and windy road. So tools that would do the billing, scheduling. Now there's like 30 of them, but when I started, there were only a couple. And ultimately, it's led me to this path of starting this new business, which is Deskpass, which solves, I think, a problem that most co-working spaces have, which is how do we help find new people and bring them in the front door. I'll shut up in a second, but I still think, even though and I'm sure if you're listening to this, we're in this sort of insular environment, but I really believe, I work downtown Chicago, and if I went to the street, and this is kind of like the tech capital of Chicago, and asked 10 random strangers if they know what co-working is, 9 of them would respond with, co-what? So, I think there's a lot of work to be done about letting people know that these types of environments exist, helping them find the right environment for them. And this new business is really all about how do you connect people with all these awesome workspaces all over the place that they don't know exist and haven't given a shot yet.
Awesome. I love that story.
I've said it a lot.
I've never heard the New York part of that story. So I learned something today.
Oh, good.
So tell us a little bit more about Deskpass. So the impetus behind this, was that to give coworkers access to more spaces, or was it to drive people to co-working spaces?
So, it's both. So the way Deskpass works is we're in Chicago, we're in Los Angeles, we're launching in Denver today, which we'll promote next week. So we have about 40 spaces in Chicago, about 25 in LA. We're going to launch with about 10, 15 in Denver. And you have one membership with Deskpass. And our cheapest membership is $49 a month, and our most expensive one is $199 a month. And depending on which level of access you get a different number of visits to these spaces. And with our pass, you can visit all of these spaces. So our only rule is, so the $49 plan is 4 visits, the $99 plan is 8 visits, and the $199 plan is any business day. And you go to any of your spaces, within your plan. The only caveat is if you can only go to each space up to 5 times. So if I'm in Denver and I keep going to Creative Density, I can go there 5 times. If I want to go the 6th time, well, then I have to talk to Craig, who runs Creative Density, and say, yo, man, I really like it here. Can I get a membership, or can I get an extra day pass? So the thing for us is, we find most of our members right now are folks that work from home. And this isn't an alternative to their office. This is an alternative to working from home or working from Starbucks. And they're not looking to replace that. They're just looking to augment it and to get out of the house and meet new people. And I find that I don't think a lot of those people know that co-working exists. maybe they're scared, maybe they just haven't heard of it, maybe the cost to really try it and buy in is too much. But our goal is to create the least expensive option that gives you access to the most amount of spaces, so that you can try, and figure out if co-working is right for you, and what kind of community and space is right for you.
Okay, so you're putting together basically this network of spaces that people can access. Um, I could see some operators thinking that this is something that's actually working against them having members. I can see both sides of that argument. So what do you say to those operators who are worried, wait, you're charging membership and then they're going to come and work in my space, but they're really members of Deskpass? How do you work through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, we obviously pay the spaces every time you show up. So we just pre-negotiate a rate, which is great. So again, it's really around this idea that 9 out of 10 people on the street don't know what co-working is. And my job is essentially a marketing company, is to educate, get in front of these people, and get them to try co-working. So I don't believe that the smartest people that I know, and this was actually in other industries, they said, don't try to make your slice of the pie bigger, make the pie bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly in our business, where 9 out of 10 people don't know, there's still way, 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 way more opportunity to make the pie bigger. And ultimately, if the spaces that I work with aren't happy with what I'm providing them, they're going to go away. So this has to be a win-win-win. So I consider myself a marketing company. Some of our best spaces have generated or attributed $50, $60, $70,000 worth of new lifetime value of customers through us. So if used right, and I think we add a lot of value. And the other thing I'd say to that is, as this industry matures, and as we get these larger operators that come in, that are well capitalized, that are good at marketing and sophisticated at marketing, it's much more difficult for the traditional independent space to compete. They might not invest in marketing at all. And even if they do invest in marketing, the odds are they stink at it, because it's hard, it's competitive, especially in the digital landscape. It's changing so much. So, when we go up against a WeWork in Chicago, our price point starts at $50 and we have 40 spaces. WeWork's price point starts at $400 and they have 4 spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can compete a lot better with these larger entities, and it's going, the benefit is going to our spaces and getting, butts in seats, and that's really our goal.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely see the need for market education. I mean, anybody who's open to co-working space, I think, can relate to that, unless it's maybe San Francisco or New York. Other than that,
but even so, I mean, so many people. I mean, I challenge people who think everyone knows literally go on the street and ask 10 people. I mean, it's shocking to me, because I thought everybody knew.
Well, it's interesting because this is a total side point, but I agree with you. I post a lot about co-working. I've been doing this for a long time. My Facebook is filled with stuff about co-working, and has been for years. And yet, one of my mom's friends, who I consider an auntie that I grew up with, the other day was posting about wanting to start a maker space in her community. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've had a dream of doing that up there. And she's like, wait, you're doing this? I'm like,
totally.
Actually, it's not quite makerspace, but yeah. So you're right. And people, I think the word co-working is confusing for people. I love it because that's what we're doing. But I think it is confusing. People think of a coworker as somebody who works with other people in an office, which is what we are. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that market education is huge. So then you mentioned that you work out sort of a pre-negotiated rate. So I'm thinking, I don't know what a day pass in Chicago goes for, maybe 30, 35 bucks a day. And that's 5 days. So, that's 150 bucks a month. how are the spaces being compensated? Are they, are you compensating them every time somebody comes in and works for the day, or is it sort of tallied up at the end of the month and then you send them a check? How does that work, and what is the rate that you're really asking for somebody to drop down to?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to. I want to play the line here nicely. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what the rate is, but it's typically around, I would say half, maybe a little less than half of what a normal day rate is.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you are signing like a monthly membership, where the day rate essentially becomes cheaper. So it's about half, I would say, on average.
Mm-hmm.
We pay spaces every time somebody shows up. So the way we do it is every Monday you get automatically electronically transferred the cash. The other thing is we give you the marketing information for that customer, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the best spaces in Chicago, what they do is they say, hey, thanks for coming to our, the next day or a couple days after they follow up, and they say, thanks so much for reaching out and coming check out our space, and I hope you had a great experience. And I want to let you know that if you're interested in a longer term membership here, like we'd love to have you. They'll offer some sort of promotion or like way to get people in the front door. So we really do find that a lot of our members that churn and leave our service end up in our co-working spaces, and the ones that they end up in are the spaces that do a better job of being hospitable and building a great experience. So, I mean, if you use our service right, you're gonna get paid for exposure and advertising. I'm gonna pay you every time somebody brings in, somebody comes in your door. And on top of that, like I said, the best spaces are finding tens of thousands of dollars in value that we provide for them. So I fundamentally believe for our business to work, it has to be a win-win-win.
Yeah.
The space has to be happy. We can't just cannibalize their customers and underpay them for the people in the front door. They need to get paid. They need to find new customers through it. They need to, it needs to be a value add for them. For our members, they have to have a great experience. They need to go to great spaces and feel great about it. And for us to provide the service, we need to make a little money. So we won't survive unless all those three things are in balance, and that's what we're really focused on providing.
Awesome. And I mean, who doesn't want a little cash in the door on a Monday morning?
Yeah,
The cash flow
I
throughout.
feel like
Awesome.
San Francisco is maybe different. I mean, New York is a really competitive market, and it's one of the few cities that I've been to where you walk into a co-working space and they're mostly full. But like you, I've been to hundreds of co-working spaces all over the world, and most of them are not full. Most
Yeah.
of them are in the middle. So I'm not taking away space from you. I'm paying you to bring new people into those spaces, and so we think we add a lot of value to our spaces.
Yeah. And I love the self-selection process that can really happen then. You pull in a new customer who wouldn't have heard about co-working previously. They get to taste all of the flavors out there and really decide what flavor works best for them. And you're right, it really is about, if I as an operator cater to this person's work and lifestyle needs, and really focus on doing that, then they're more likely to convert to a member. I did have a question about full spaces. Do you find that people who are full are a little more reluctant to work
Participate?
or?
I mean, that hasn't been a huge problem. I think the big problem is some of the larger operators that are trying to create a national network or try to have, like many spaces in a city, find us to be more competitive
Yeah.
because we're doing the same thing. And that's one of the sort of benefits of their space and service. It hasn't been like uh, uh, always a no, but it's a challenge for us. The cool thing about Deskpass too is, as a space, I can say, on Mondays we're frickin' busy, so let's turn it off, or for this week we're not like going to provide space. And so you can pick and choose, and if you just want people in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays because those are your slow days for some reason, which wouldn't make any sense, you could do that. So it's flexible for you.
And so how do you handle the booking process? So if I am a space that is relatively full, but I've decided to sign on with Deskpass, but I know that I only have 5 seats for day passers or sort of drop-in users a day, how do you manage that with me?
So to be honest, we don't, and we can. It's sort of built into the general architecture, but we haven't had to yet.
Yeah.
So when that becomes a real problem, we'll solve it by just saying, "Hey, I only have 4 spaces available today." The one thing that's unique about our platform is you sign up with our platform, and then you have access to our web app and our iOS app and our Android app. So you can book in advance, you can book day of. So that whole booking experience and process is controlled through us. And then from the operator side, you can figure out how to reconcile that with whatever software solution that you use. But like, we're an all-in-one solution. You get paid automatically, you get notified automatically, you can control everything through our platform.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so who manages, or I should say in air quotes, manages the Deskpass membership for, let's say I'm a coworker,
Yeah.
and I become a member of Deskpass. So who manages my membership?
Yeah, I mean, it's all like, so we have a small team here in I guess we're all based out of Chicago. So we have live chat on our website. We're crazy accessible. So if you have a question about your service, or billing, or access to a space, basically 8 to 6, someone's going to respond to you automatically from our team. It's going to be myself. It's going to be Nicole Vasquez. It's going to be Seth Caskey from our team. All like lovely humans. The thing that's fascinating about our business as we're building is, I can find a new customer off the street. I can educate them to what co-working is. I can get them to sign up and book your space, right? But the moment they come to your front door, I'm sort of out of control, right? So if you're not there to unlock the door, or it smells, or the internet sucks, like, I'm gonna hear it. We get ratings that are private, but they allow us to just quality control and make sure that if somebody has a really terrible experience or something went wrong, that we hear about that first. It's not public information. So, what we'll do is, like, if one of our members or a couple of our members have problems getting in the front door, then we reach out to the space operator very politely, and say, hey, there's a problem here. We want to provide a great experience for our members so they enjoy your space, and so let's fix it. But myself and Nicole both come from running a co-working space. Like, we get it. So to us, building a community is everything. Providing great support is everything, and it's not offshored, outsourced. You're going to talk to me, or a few other folks from our team.
Yeah, and you have this really interesting intersection where you're basically community managers, like the sort of traditional online community manager is, yet you're also community managers for people who are working in a physical space that you have no control over. That's really fascinating place to be as a business model. So do you do things to bring the community of Deskpassers together? Do you hold meetups? Do you have an online platform that they communicate through?
Yeah. So yes. So one thing is, as we're building this product, we're trying to do it in a very, like, honest and open way. So when we think about adding something new to the product, or want to know how things are going with the product, we reach out to our community. So we're very, we send lots of emails to our members just saying, like, hey, we're thinking about adding this. What do you think? Would this be useful? Which is great to build a dialogue and an understand that people so people understand that we care and we want to make this awesome for them. We do an event at least once a month in Chicago right now. We're going to expand this to our other cities, which is like a meetup. So we'll pick a space. We'll invite people who are in Deskpass, but also friends and family and whomever is interested, and we'll promote a space. And the last few that we're doing, I mean, we're able to fill up the space and get like 20, 30, 40 people there. So it's really cool. So we are definitely building our own little community of nomads, which is awesome. We're in the process, actually finishing the process of adding more social features to Deskpass. So profiles, just so I can see the other people who are working there and I can contact them. I know, when I was more active with Nextspace, one of the best value that I thought you get out of a network of spaces like Nextspace is the community board and the mailing list.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Chicago. There's 1871 here in Chicago, which is the tech hub. So I mean, I have a great network. I'm a really lucky dude. So, but when I need a front end developer or a lawyer or what, like, I always reach out to the same people,
Yeah.
and I always get similar results. And I found that when I was able to, especially use that Nextspace board, all of a sudden I'm plugged into like 8 spaces, right? And I have 8 different communities. And so if I say I need a front end developer, I'm gonna find one that I don't know, have never talked to, don't have a relationship with. And I thought that was so cool and such an added value. And that's one of the unique things that's really neat about our platform, is because it's so spread out that we get a lot of different types of people. And then lastly, the thing that we're doing, so I guess the 2 last things we're doing and we're working on right now are, we have 75 spaces in 3 cities. So, each space does at least 1, 2 events a month. Some do a lot more. So
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, our members get access to all of those events. So being a Deskpass member, you get access to like 150, 200, 250 events every month.
Wow.
So we're working on how do you collect those and feature those. And just another added feature is, hey, I want to learn something about something, and now I have access to hundreds of events I didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I will say, which we're adding, which I'm really stoked about, is other types of like benefits and perks of being a Deskpass member. So instead of having like large national kind of cookie cutter benefits, I'm really excited, and we're focused on curating great benefits and perks that are city specific. So if you're a member in Chicago, you'll have a discount at my favorite hospitality and restaurant group. You'll have a discount at one of the best hotel groups in Chicago. You'll have, a discount at a florist, at a local gym. But instead of just being like Equinox or, large companies that are these global companies, but saying like, here are some freaking awesome local folks that are curated by us, and we're going to incentivize you to go there with a discount. So those are all things that we're trying to roll into the platform to make it more awesome.
That's awesome. Promoting economic development at the local level. Okay.
Yeah, with style.
Yeah. So going back, you mentioned a rating system. Do you have sort of the Yelp of co-working spaces? Is that what you're doing, or that's internal only? Do you plan to offer that externally?
I don't. Right now, it's internal only. It's I'm not trying to. Yeah, I think like we have to play this fine line of, I don't want to disparage or screw any of the spaces on there so that they get bad ratings when they're providing a service at a discount to my members. But what I do want to do is ensure that my members have a great experience. So for the time being, we're focused on just using that information to provide a better experience for everybody. And we're thinking about doing the same thing on the member side, so that if a space has a really crappy experience with one of our members, we can address that. And if that consistently happens, then we can, tell that person that they need to find a new home.
Yeah.
Because again, it has to be a win for everybody.
Yeah. Wow. Really awesome, Sam.
Thanks.
You are a pioneer in this movement, in this industry. You've seen a lot of changes over the past many years.
It's
Where
true.
is co-working going, and how do you see Deskpass influencing that?
Um, so I think the popular answer to this is that more and more people are becoming independent workers and freelancers and are going to have the opportunity to um, experience different types of space. And my ideal environment, it might be a terrible environment for you. So we're going to see a lot more people that have this as an option, and there's going to be a lot more options for those people. Um, so I see, and then the other big thing I see is adoption of the more traditional workforce, and you see that already. There was that big announcement a few weeks ago that Microsoft is 30% of their New York workforce is moving to WeWork, which is awesome, right? So I'm acutely aware of this in Chicago. This is something that we're trying to help solve with Deskpass, most certainly. But it's these larger companies or middle-sized companies that are recognizing, hey, you know, I'm having trouble recruiting and retaining millennials or these new workers. Why? Um, well, it's because these millennials and new workers are over, they're the first generation for a significant amount of them to say, I'd rather you pay me less money and let me work from wherever I want or not have to schlep an hour and a half each way to go to my job because I value the quality of my life and time with my friends and family more than money, and my time more than money. So you see like McDonald's, Motorola, Microsoft, Conagra, Kraft, right, that are saying we have to do something. I don't think any of those companies I mentioned, maybe with the Microsoft being an outlier there, are like what I would call super progressive or innovative companies. They're doing it because they have a serious issue with talent, and they have to address it in a meaningful way. And before they move downtown or buy a new campus, or they're starting to explore alternative workplace strategies, and they're trying to figure out, how do I offer something else to my workforce to incentivize them and keep them happy and motivated. And I think shared work and co-working and remote work in general, even if that means just working from home with your baby and your dog, um, we're going to see so much more of. So if this means spaces going, companies buying suites and making partnerships with local space providers in town, if it means building their own sort of alternative workplace in different places, but I think you're going to see a lot of them using services like Deskpass where they can try it, test it, get data, get feedback, and really understand how they can leverage this new type of place to work in what they offer their team.
Awesome. I love it.
I hope so. At least I hope so.
Sam, what's next for you?
I'm really focused on building this business. I had had a baby and moved to the suburbs and got married all within about a year and a half. So my name of the game is focus and just creating something great. So we're really focused here on building an awesome business and adding lots of new cities and being happy humans. So far so good. Sleepy but good.
Welcome to parenthood, Sam.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was just so much fun to talk with you.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, and I'll keep you posted with updates and announcements on our end. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to those updates. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode. If you'd like to check out other episodes, you can go to coworkingwithiris.co, and you can also subscribe to the podcast there. Next week, I'm excited to be talking with Jenny Poon, who just today won the Business Person of the Year award in her city in Phoenix, Arizona. And Jenny's doing incredible work down there. She's very deserving of that award. Really looking forward to that interview. Keep doing the great work you do every day. Keep changing the world. And see you next time.